Hey, what's going on, guys? Something a little different today. I'm actually in my car. I might start trying to just record more like this, or maybe even outside. There's a lot of background noise, so I don't know about that. But anyway, today we'll talk about Veronica. So this is a 2017 film directed by Paco Plaza, who also directed the Rec series, if you guys have seen that. And this is a movie that's filmed in Spain, and the entire movie is in Spanish. That might bother some people, but there are subtitles that are already like, if you watch this on Netflix, they're already like built in. You don't have to actually turn on the closed captioning, and they're accurate. And this is actually the second time I watched it, and it really doesn't bother me at all. But you know, to each his own. Some people might not be able to watch it because of that. So it just depends. So the story of Veronica is actually a true story which follows a girl who tries to summon up and conjure the spirit of her dad, who she tragically lost a few years back. And in doing so, she actually conjures a evil demon, and it terrorizes her and her family. This is a true story. However, the actual like events that happened in real life aren't as extreme, which that's usually how it goes in movies. You know, directors and companies want to make everything as like sensationalized and crazy as they can, because it'll make for a better movie, and it'll sell more tickets. But besides that, everything else seems to be pretty realistic from what I've heard, and there's a lot of attention to detail as far as, you know, maybe the same exact thing happened, but in the movie it just happened a different way. So, you know, overall I'd say it's pretty accurate. So the way that she actually conjured up the spirit is, there was a solar eclipse, and in the very beginning of the movie we see her in a classroom, and they're actually talking about the solar eclipse. And as a class, or actually I guess as a whole school, they're going to go outside and put on the little glasses that, you know, they make, that allows you to look at the sun when there's an eclipse. And the teacher is talking about how in ancient societies they used to believe that whatever happened in the sky dictated what happened on the earth. So when there's an eclipse, there's a lot of darkness, you know, that's basically like symbolizes darkness overtaking the light. So it was the perfect time to do anything evil, sacrifice anybody or anything like that. So her and two other friends go down to the basement of their school with this Ouija board, and when they try to conjure up the spirit, it ends up going horribly wrong, and Veronica actually becomes possessed. And then throughout the movie, we just see, you know, different instances of the possession. And a lot of other movies, you'll see that when someone is possessed, there'll be marks on their skin, usually like 3 marks, because apparently it's supposed to be rejecting the Holy Trinity. So in this, after an episode of her trying to eat something and not being able to, because obviously in like an episode of possession, she's just sitting there shaking. When she goes to the bathroom to change her shirt after she spilled her food on her shirt, she sees the 3 marks on her shoulder, which, like I said, we see that in a lot of other possession movies. You know, we also see a lot of like contortion, you know, with people's body. You know, people like bending their arm like the other way, and just like all kinds of crazy stuff. While this movie has that, at the same time, there's a lot of things that are original as far as this goes. One scene in particular is the dream scene, and I've said this before on this channel that I hate dream sequences. Like, I hate when movies will have they'll have something that is very interesting, compelling, it's great, and then at the end of this long scene, or there's even some movies where the whole movie, at the end of it, they'll tell you, oh, that was all a dream. Like, to me, that is so dumb. But this movie actually uses that really well. There's a scene where she's dreaming, and in the dream, her younger siblings are waking her up, and they're saying that they're hungry and like they want to eat breakfast and stuff. And it turns dark when their hunger is actually all along hunger for flesh, and they start to eat her flesh. Basically, they start to bite off her skin, and she's bleeding. I just love it. And I also love like how it seems innocent and happy at first, and it turns evil. It's just funny to me. And then her youngest brother begins like choking her. Yeah. And then she wakes up from that and realizes it was a dream. So that's okay. because it's just a little scene, a little part of the movie that's just a dream. But another thing I really like about this movie is the fact that Veronica is basically in charge of her younger sibling because her mom is the only parent and she's constantly working, trying to support her family. She really is not around much, and it's a constant struggle between her being able to try to fight off this demon and at the same time trying to look after her younger siblings. And she's just a teenager. So one thing that this reminded me of is the use of like family trauma, or the use of like family deterioration, I guess, like family members falling apart and everything just going downhill slowly, is Hereditary. That's all about, family trauma and how it separates a family and makes everybody go crazy. This is kind of that way too, except a lot of them are very young, so, it could be a little different. But all in all, I just really like how this movie isn't just a typical possession movie. There's another small detail that I absolutely love about this movie, and it's that in this apartment, which by the way, if you they showed like pictures of the actual apartment from the true story, and it's pretty accurate. Like, I have to say, that was pretty impressive by the production team on how they got their set to be so accurate to like the actual apartment that was realistic. Is right in the doorway there's a painting to the left, and it's a painting of like 4 or 5 wolves chasing like a deer. I take it to be symbolism for the movie, as in Veronica is the deer, and all of these wolves are the demons and just other things in her life that are basically trying to bring her down. And I love that shot of her walking in across the screen in slow motion, and then the camera is just focused on this painting. It really says a lot without saying a whole lot. So I love that. And then later on in the movie, when she becomes fully possessed at the very end and she walks past it again, the deer is actually not featured in the painting. So it also kind of shows that she's no longer here. But in the end, Veronica is not able to overcome her possession and she ends up dying. And like I said, once again, this is just a great spin and a great take on a type of horror that has been done so many times. It's very refreshing to see and a director really take this in a different way. So I'm going to give Veronica overall a 4 out of 5. I love this movie, and I actually I rewatched it again recently, and I hadn't seen it since it came out in 2017, and I kind of forgot just how much I really like this movie. So I highly recommend you guys seeing it. And now let's get to the drawing.
All right, so here's the drawing. This is a drawing from the scene at the very end of the movie where Veronica is fully possessed and she's going to find her youngest sibling, Antonito, and he is trying to hide from her in the closet. She opens the closet door and there's a mirror inside the closet door. She sees her reflection and realizes that the demon is actually within her and she's really not who she thinks she is at this point. So basically, this started out as it was just going to be kind of a little sketch, and then I really enjoyed this, and I felt like this was very challenging for me for some reason, so I tried to make it into more of a full drawing. It is graphite. I used a 2H first to just kind of get the form and just get overall placement. Go in and try, kind of make little moments of, little marks of like moments as far as like her eyelids and just like, just trying to map out everything that would be in the drawing. I used the 3B, which are more of these like shadows here, like more mid-tone kind of in this upper eyelid area, like under the eyebrow. For this like part of the hair, I use the 3B as just a little bit of a tone, a little bit darker. 4B is basically dark, but not all the way dark. So I use that, for example, like in these shadows, and I'd say probably the lips, or like this like little moment of like the scar that's on her face. And for the shirt, I didn't really put too much detail into the shirt, but I just basically put some graphite down and then kind of like spread it around with my hands. That's what I use the 4B for. And then the 6B is all the way dark as I could possibly go. You guys can see it better if I do that. But that's basically the hair. Um, like that's this moment right here in the drawing was like the absolute darkest part. So I went in with the 6B multiple times, and then I took my fixative and I would spray it, so that I could work over it again and just keep adding, keep trying to make it darker and darker. And even then, I still looking back on it, I wish it was darker. But the inside, the pupils, the blacks of the eyes, like all the way dark. That's the 6B, and this right here too is it seemed like just as dark as this. This is like dried blood, um, from her hitting her face on the mirror, like a minute prior. If you actually see the movie, you would know what that blood is from. So yeah, that's pretty much the drawing. And also a side note, I actually drew this same thing about 3 years ago, almost when I first saw the movie, and it's just crazy. Like looking back on that and then seeing how this is. I can't actually find that drawing. If I could, I would show you guys, but this one is definitely way better. You can take my word for it. But thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next time.